Hello, Autry. This is Mrs. Foster, the Library Media Specialist at Autry Middle School, and I am reading to you today our first chapter reads, and today I am reading to you from my iPhone. Now, my phone has an app on it that we use called Sora, and I've gone into Sora to preview a book and see about it, and I'm going to read to you the first chapter of the book. But you have access to this Sora app, and if you go to autryclc.com, there's information at the top that says Sora, and if you click on that, it'll take you to a video showing you how to set up your account. So we have all the books from the Autry CLC ebook collection in there. We have Cobb County Public School, Cobb County School District books in there, and we have Cobb County Public Library books that you have access to if you add that library as well. So when you join, it's going to say, you're going to type in Autry, but it's going to say Cobb County School Districts. It's okay, you're in the right place. All right, so today I'm going to be reading to you the first chapter of The Seventh Wish. And this is by Kate Messner. The first chapter, and you know Miss Foster loves it when they put a title on the screen. So it's the first chapter is titled New Ice. I've only seen ice flowers once. It was winter vacation when I was 6 and Abby was 12. She came flying into my bedroom in her green flannel pajamas. "Charlie, wake up. You have to come see before they're gone." We threw on coats, stuffed our bare feet and pajama bottoms into snow boots, and raced outside down the street to the little rocky beach that leads to the lake. The rocks that sloped down to the ice were slippery, but Abby held tight to my hand. When their jagged edges gave way to smooth, flat ice, she let go and knelt down to stare at the little patch of snow over the blackness. Only it wasn't snow. The night before had been clear and cold and full of frigid stars. It looked as if they had fallen from the sky and turned into crystal in the morning light. A whole field of them stretched over the ice from our shore to the island way, way out. Ice flowers. "They're beautiful," I thought. "They must be magic." Abby said she thought so too, and a morning that started with flowers of frost painted like the lake could only turn into a magical day. We ran back to the house into a sweet maple pancake kitchen and told Mom all about the flowers and maybe magic. She smiled like she had a secret, and before we thought to ask where Dad was, he walked through the door with Denver in his arms. We'd known we were getting a yellow lab puppy, just not that very day. Wow, a nice surprise, wasn't it? When we took Denver outside to play later, the sun had melted the ice flowers, beautiful edges, and turned them into regular frost. But for a few short hours, they decorated the lake in Jack Frost magic for Denver and for us. Now, every year on the first super cold morning of winter, I go to Abby's room and bounce on her bed until she gets up and comes outside with me to look. Sometimes we find the lake churning with freezing waves that splash icicles into the rocks. Sometimes it sits under a quiet blanket of ice fog swirling in breezes where we can't even feel. Sometimes it's frozen solid, black as ice can be. But the ice flowers have only come once. I've had a feeling this vacation week, though, they're bound to come again. And why not today? It's a new year, with confetti stuck in the living room carpet from our celebration last night, of a glossy new calendar on the fridge. On the calendar is circled the date January 28th, when I'm getting my solo dress for Irish dance. It was a Christmas present from Mom and Dad. A note card read, This certificate entitles the bearer to one solo dress for Irish dance up to $300. That might sound like a lot for one dress, but the truth is, it's barely going to cover the most basic one you can get. Fancier solo dresses cost more than $1,000 because they're covered in Swarovski crystals that catch the light and sparkle when you dance. $300 isn't enough for crystals, but the dress will still be better than the plaid skirt and white shirt dance school uniform I have now. New year, new calendar, new dress. And a new record low temperature according to the TV weatherman who gave the forecast wearing the New Year party hat last night. It was supposed to get down to minus 22. Our furnace growled and moaned about that all night, and even though I know the wood floor would be cold on my feet, I jump up out of bed because maybe this will be the morning the ice flowers come again. If they do, I don't want us to miss them. I run down the hall to Abby's room, knock on her door, and burst in and pounce on her bed. Abby, get up. We had to check for ice flowers. I bounce on my knees and wait for her to sit up and whomp me with her pillow like she does sometimes. Abby pulls the pillow over her head. Charlie, it's like 7 o'clock. Leave me alone. Her voice is hoarse and scratchy, like maybe she's getting sick, but I can't believe she'd miss the ice flowers. Ab! I try to lift the pillow, but she pulls it tighter around her ears. Come on, it'll only take a few minutes, and then you can go back to bed. Go away. Fine, I'll go look myself. I leave her room and pull the door shut harder than I need to. When Abby left for college in August, I cried and cried and cried, no matter how many times Dad reminded me that we could video chat, that she'd be home to visit. I knew it wouldn't be the same, and I was right. She texted a lot and sent pictures of campus in the first couple of weeks, but after that, she was too busy with classes. Even though Abby's home for break now, she still feels far away, all sleepy and moody unless she's getting ready to go out with her friends. She didn't spend New Year's with us, even though Mom made tacos and brownie sundaes. It hardly feels like I got my sister back at all. But I'm not going to let Abby's bad mood ruin the magic, if it's there. I rush to the kitchen door and put on my winter stuff. Mom and Dad are drinking coffee at the table. Dad lowers his newspaper and eyes my boots with pajama pants outfit. Where are you going, Charlie? He asks at the same time Mom says, Stay off that ice, Charlotte Ann. She looks out the window down the street towards the lake. It's only had one night to freeze. That's not enough. Like most moms, she's worried. I just want to go look. Mom nods and goes back to the sports section, and I step outside. I have to catch my breath because even though the sun is bright, the blue sky air is so cold it bites my face. I can feel it inside of my nose freezing when I take a breath. My boots crunch on the little bit of snow left on the sidewalk from last week's storm. It looks like there are patches of snow out on the lake too, but that can't be. It didn't snow. A flake last night. I run until I get to the icy rocks and then I slow down. I can already see them. The ice flowers are back. They're sprouting overnight. They sprouted overnight, growing layer by icy layer while we slept under the warm blankets in the dark. They are just as magical as before. I slide my foot out onto the lake's dark frozen surface and test the ice with a little of my weight. My heart flutters in my chest. I've been a total chicken on the ice ever since I saw one of those cold water rescue shows on TV when I was 7. But I remind myself that the water's barely up to my knees here. Even if the ice cracked and I fell through, the worst thing that could happen is that I'd end up with really cold shins. I take another step. The ice is solid enough to hold me. At least 3 or 4 inches, I can tell. So I slide out to the first silent patch of white and kneel down for a closer look. I crouch low the way Abby did all those years ago and see more closely. Each perfect petal is like a feather cast in ice. I take a cold breath and the air chills my insides. When I let it out, a gentle warm breeze the flour crumbles to nothing. A smudge of once was magic left on a smooth, dark plane of glass. You check that ice with an auger? The voice startles me, and I turn to see Drew's Nana, Mrs. McNeil, standing on the shore in a snowmobile suit. Drew's next to her in a snow pants and a jacket, holding a stick. Drew's been holding some stick or other since I met him in first grade. First it was always a pretend gun or a sword, and then it was a defense against grizzly bears and mountain lions, which don't live here, but Drew believes in being prepared anyway. Today it looks like it's just an ice poker. I stand up and brush flour dust off my knees. I don't have an auger, but it looks like 3 or 4 inches thick. I call, hoping Miss McNeil won't tell Mom. The water's not deep here if you want to come out. Mrs. McNeil and Drew shuffle their way out where I am. Mrs. McNeil looks down at the ice flowers. Well, isn't that something? She squats low just like I did and breathes one away as if it's made of nothing at all. These won't last long under the sun, she says and sighs. That makes me want to be careful where I breathe, where I step, so they'll last a little longer. You don't see these often around here, Mrs. McNeil says as she stands up. They happen more up in the Arctic where... Feels like the Arctic here, Drew says, wiping his nose on his coat sleeve. Gross, I say. It's not gross. He makes a face at me and then lifts his sleeve to inspect the shiny smear. Did you know your nose and sinuses make a liter of snot every day? Again, gross. I shake my head, but I laugh. Drew is an expert on disgusting things. It was his idea to include scat samples in our animal tracking science fair project last May, which earned us 10 points extra credit and me the nickname of Pooper Scooper for the rest of the year. As I was saying, Mrs. McNeil goes on, and Drew rolls his eyes. She's a retired science teacher who takes care of Drew when his parents are working, which is pretty much always. Drew gets a lot of science lessons. This pattern of frost formation is an Arctic phenomenon. When the air is very cold and the ice forms quickly over warmer water, then... She keeps going a while, but I tune out. I blow puffs of steam into the frigid air and watch the clouds of breath fade away until Mrs. McNeil nudges me and says, think you could pass a test on that now? I wasn't totally listening, I admit. I guess I didn't want the science to wreck the magic. Science is a kind of magic, she says. I nod, but I want beautiful, impossible to explain ice flower magic like the day we got Denver. Maybe I'll be able to find a perfect solo dress on sale to fit my budget. You ought to come fishing with us later, Drew says. Tomorrow, his Nana corrects. We need one more good cold night before it's safe to go out there where the fish are. We'd love to have you come along, Charlie. We could use another fishing buddy. They used to fish with Drew's grandpa before he died 3 years ago. I don't ice fish, I say, and the truth is I love fishing in the summer, but I don't do anything on ice that's covering water more than a couple of feet deep. I'm not fearless like Abby. She and Mom and Dad always try to get me to go skating with them once the ice is thick and safe. And in my opinion, there's no such thing. Some poor dumb person who thinks it's thick enough falls through every year because it isn't. Thanks, though. Oh, come on, Drew says. We're entertaining the Make-A-Wish Derby. It raises money to send kids to with cancer to Disney World and stuff, and they got a grand prize of $1,000 for the biggest perch. Really? When I think of wishes, all I can see is a solo dress covered in sparkly crystals. Yeah, and if we don't catch the biggest one, we can still sell them to Billy's Tavern, right, Nana? Mrs. McNeil nods. Couple dollars a pound is all, but you have a good day, and they add up. I think about it. Maybe they wouldn't maybe they wouldn't add up to enough for a super sparkly dress, but even money for a few more crystals would help. How far do you go out? We stay pretty close these first few days, Mrs. McNeil says. The perch like new ice. So do I. I kneel down and look at another frozen lace flower. Drew and his Nana head back towards their house, but Mrs. McNeil turns back. Don't go out any farther, Charlie. Just because the ice is pretty doesn't mean it's making you any promises. It needs another night to freeze. Let winter's work do its magic. Don't worry, I stand up and head towards shore 2, listening to them argue as they walk. Can't we go out this afternoon? Drew says. Tomorrow. What about tonight if it's really cold after supper? Tomorrow. I wish the ice would hurry up. Wish all you want. Wishing doesn't make a thing so. Maybe not, I think, but ice flowers do. They make our morning sparkle. On the day we got Denver, now finally they're back, and I'm ready for some more magic. When I get home, I step into the kitchen and kick off my boots. Mom and Dad are arguing with Abby upstairs, but the kitchen is warm and there's cinnamon toast left on a plate. Denver's under the table waiting for crumbs. I bite into a piece and poke at the sugar crystals with my finger. I imagine them out on the ice, glimmering in the morning sun, and then sparkling on a dress while I dance, arms at my side, knees high. Maybe ice fishing is a good idea after all. All right, so that was chapter 1, and it was a pretty good read. I enjoyed that. So it's called The Seventh Wish, and it's by Kate Messner. I'm going to flip around so you can see it that way. And if you would like to check it out, it is currently available on the Sora app. So you just go and download the Sora app, and make sure you go to Autry CLC's website, and there's directions on there how to connect to your account in Sora. It is the same login that you use for Office 365. All right, Autry, I hope you had a great day today. I will see you tomorrow with more reading.